Hey lovely sexy hobby people, welcome to today's video, which is a flick through for the Codex Dark Angels. This is the one that came with my Deathwing Assault box set a few weeks back. I said I'd do a quick flick through. This isn't a massive analysis of any points, costs, lowering, raising, what's been nerfed. We might have a look at some of the units. I might have a look at Lionel Johnson, because I understand that he's had a couple of things nerfed, and what I'll do is I'll use the old Dark Angels data cards that came out when 10th edition was launched to look through the data cards at the back of this. But hey, there you go. Anyway, nice artwork. I'm assuming that's Asmodee, maybe, on the front there. Now, this is, I mean, this is old Dark Angels artwork. It would have been nice if they'd have done something new. Same here, old Dark Angels artwork, from what I remember. But never mind. I mean, it feels nice. We've got an embossed. Don't know if you can see. If I just do that, the light might catch it. We've got an embossed key there, and then we've got an embossed Dark Angels emblem in gold there. So let's have a look. So contents, and then we're straight into a short story. So, and this is told from the perspective of a Imperial Guard officer. It's nice, it's a good story. And then we're into the Unforgiven. So, a bit about the Dark Angels in the time of the heresy, the aftermath. Then it talks about the inner circle, so things like you've got, so it's no big secret, obviously, that the Dark Angels, part of their legion, turned to chaos whilst on Caliban, due to the resentment of Luther, and there was a bit of a big scrap between him and the Lion and the Dark Angels forces that were returning from the Great Crusade after the heresy. And Caliban was destroyed. A number of Space Marines from Caliban were cast into the warp, and you know, the big secret is that the Dark Angels have been hunting the Fallen ever since. And so there's only so many people within the chapter that know this bit of lore, you know, and so you've got like the Supreme Grand Master and then the inner circle that surrounds him, and then it goes outwards. So people like the Raven Wing are designed to primarily hunt the Fallen, and then when they found them, they call in the Terminators to capture, you know, so very much the second and first companies of the Dark Angels very much are included in that. But again, it's selective as to how much information they're given with regards to their quarry and the fall of Caliban. So not everybody knows everything, except for those at the top. Then there's a bit about Grandmaster Ezekiel, which is the Grandmaster of the Librarians. Master Lazarus, which is the Dark Angels 5th Company Commander, talking about some of the rituals that they do. There's a nice picture here of Cypher. Now Cypher is an enigmatic figure amongst the Dark Angels Fallen, who has been captured and talked his way out of capture, and has been captured again and escaped and all sorts. I understand at some point he even got to Terra, to the throne room, but was commanded to wait, and then melted away again after that. So Lionel Johnson. Now, for many years, the thing was that Lionel Johnson was missing. He was missing in the warp. But then a couple of editions ago, it was said that he was kind of in a coma on the rock, being watched over by the Watchers of the Dark. And then obviously in this edition, in 10th edition, he's come back, which is great. I love it. I have got my Lionel Johnson miniature. And I'm really glad that we've got our Primarch back. Nice bit of artwork here of Lionel Johnson fighting Angron of the World Eaters. That is really cool. Then we go into the non-codex compliant companies. So the Dark Angels are a non-codex compliant chapter because they have the Deathwing and the Ravenwing. Ordinarily, the Deathwing would be made up, which is right. Normally, the first company is the veterans, So the first company is fine, but then it diverges with the Ravenwing in that all their fast attack, bikes, speeders, aircraft, etc. are all located in the Ravenwing, and they all wear black armour. The Deathwing wear bone armour. So because of that, you'll find that within the normal battle line companies, they don't have things like bikes and land speeders. In some of our older codexes, we did have, we could have company veterans within our battle line companies, but they've kind of gone away from that now, which I think I think that is diluting the flavour of the Dark Angels. Because that's what made the Dark Angels great, was the fact that they had these little things. Another thing which they've gone away from was we could field... oh, crap, I can't think of it now. But we could field dreadnoughts with twin-linked weapons on each arm, basically. So we could have, either auto-cannons or two mortis-pattern dreadnoughts. That was it. Mortis-pattern dreadnoughts. We could field those as one of our special things. In the same way that Blood Angels used to be able to field the dual power fist dreadnought. I forget what they call them. But they had Moriar as their character for the Death Company. Then obviously the Deathwing. Then we get into some of the main characters. So we've got Azrael, who's the Supreme Grand Master of the Dark Angels, and Asmodai, who's the Master of Repentance, so he's part of the chaplaincy. Belial is the leader of the Deathwing, and Samil is leader of the Ravenwing. Some of our successor chapters. So some of our successor chapters, our classic ones, are things like Angels of Redemption, Angels of Absolution, Disciples of Caliban, and a few others. And then obviously some newer ones here. But for those that have the Siege of Vrax, or are thinking of getting the Siege of Vrax series of books, the Angels of Absolution make an appearance in that. Then we have another short story. This time it includes the Lion fighting the Tyranids. And then we're into the showcase. So, but yeah, they're not going to show off any old models unless they're still current. So things like old Ravenwing bikers and stuff like that are you're no longer going to see them in these codexes. But obviously we've got some of our Greenwing here. And then obviously Deathwing and Ravenwing. So the Ravenwing Dark Talon and the Nephilim Fighter are two flyers available to the Ravenwing. We've got Belial and Asmodai. And then the Lion himself. And then Inner Circle Companions, which I understand can be taken as a bodyguard. And then we've got some more photos of some Green Wings and Obviously, Deathwing Knights there and a Ravenwing Outrider. And then some of the successive chapters there. Nice. So we've got Angron here, the Lion, obviously Deathwing Terminators, Chaos Space Marines, and so on. Right, Combat Patrol. Okay, Combat Patrol. So, I think the Combat Patrols was a little bit lackluster. It could have been better. What I will say is, if you already own the 8th edition box set of Dark Imperium and the 9th edition box set of Indomitus, then you will already have the Space Marines you need to make up the Combat Patrol. So you get, in Dark Imperium, you get a Gravis Captain, although this guy's got a power sword and it's not a chain sword, as in part of the Combat Patrol, but you get a Gravis Captain, you get 5 Hellblasters, you get 10 Intercessors with Dark Imperium, and then in Indomitus you get your 3 Blade Guard. So if you've already got those 2 box sets, if you're an avid collector and you've been collecting every edition since, you've already got it. So save your money. Don't worry about going out and buying it unless you really specifically want to. That's what I would say. And then, I think I mentioned this at the time, something I haven't seen for a really long time in a codex, and that is a painting guide. And it's nice to see. Nice to see. So, Combat Patrol, Vengeful Brethren, default enhancement, and then default secondary objective. So if you're just playing standard and you don't want to worry too much about it, then you have an optional for you to take. Anyway, then you have your Combat Patrol data sheets for each of the units. So as I say, the Gravis Captain, if you use the one from Dark Imperium, he's got a power sword, but this guy has a chain sword, or relic chain sword, I should say. But you can just turn around and say counts as. Forces of the Dark Angels. So here we go, army rules. I haven't looked at points costs for anything, to be quite honest. Simply because at the end of the day, you know, they are liable to change. I haven't played any games in 10th yet, mainly because the friends that I normally play with, one of them's been going through quite a serious time with their mother having cancer. She's recently passed away, unfortunately, and you know, there is a chance that maybe in the next month or so we might start picking up games, but we haven't really played any games, and so therefore I haven't really looked at points because I haven't really had any need to. But you've got a couple of different task forces. You've got an Unforgiven task force, which is essentially a green wing. And then you've got an Inner Circle task force, which is predominantly for your Deathwing. And then Company of Hunters for if you wanted to do a Ravenwing army. Then we're going to come into the date sheets. So, Lionel Johnson. Let's have a quick flick at the old data cards. There's the Lion. Right, so we have on his lineup 8-inch move, 9 toughness, 2 up save, 10 wounds, leadership 5+, and objective control 4. But in this now, he's got a 3+ invulnerable save. So let's have a look at the weapon stats, shall we? Luminous, bolt pistol and plasma pistol appears to be the same. And then Fealty has a change. So fealty, sweep, sustained hits. In the new data sheet, his damage has gone down from 2 to 1. Now, I understand that the Emperor's Shield has changed. So in the old data card, it said each time an attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the wound roll. In addition, each time a melee attack is allocated to this model on an unmodified saving throw of 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after hit has finished making its attack. And the new line is each time a melee attack is allocated to this model on an unmodified saving throw of 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Okay, so there is change. So you no longer subtract 1, which is a shame. And then we've got the Inner Circle Companions, which obviously weren't included in the old data cards. Asriel, he's got his 4+ save listed there, but his stat line is pretty much the same. Doesn't appear to be any change for his weapons. Belial, same stat line. He's got his invulnerable save there as well, 4+ invulnerable save. Samil, actually let's go Ezekiel. Again, same, 4+ invulnerable save added in the stat line. And then Asmodai, same, 4+ invulnerable save added. Then we have Samil or Samael, depending on how you want to do it. Now he 12, 5, 3, 7, 6. Yeah, so again same, but his 4+ invulnerable save is added. And Lazarus, same, and his 4+ invulnerable added. Now we have the Deathwing Terminator squad, which we had previously, but because of the limitations of the kit that they've provided, we no longer have the option to have Thunder Hammers and Twin Lightning Claws. So these have been removed from the melee weapons list because the new kit doesn't have that option, or they haven't produced a close assault option yet. That's a shame. Right, Deathwing Knights. So 5, 5, 2+, 4, 6, 1, and a 4+ invulnerable save. So Maces of Absolution still exist. Mace of Absolution still exists. I'm assuming that the Flail of the Unforgiven, which is no longer available as a modelling option, is now just a relic weapon. Is it a relic weapon or a power weapon? And it says Great Weapon of the Unforgiven, so I'm assuming that's the swords that they carry for the Deathwing Knights. I've armed my Deathwing Knights with swords. So there you go, Deathwing Knights. Right, we can no longer have... Where are we? I think they might have actually... Right, so we no longer have the Deathwing Strike Master. We no longer have a Deathwing Command Squad, which is really disappointing. So those 2 units definitely gone. Right, Ravenwing Command Squad. 12-inch, 5, 3, 3. So wounds has gone up to 4 on the Ravenwing Command Squad. Leadership 6, objective controllers 2, and then they've got their 5+ invulnerable save. So that's nice. Right, Ravenwing Black Knights. So their stat line remains the same with the 5+ invulnerable save added in. Ravenwing Dark Shroud remains the same with a 5+ invulnerable save thrown in. Ravenwing Landspeeder Vengeance is the same with the 5+ invulnerable save thrown in. Now, Ravenwing Dark Talon, again, that's the same, doesn't have any objective control, and that's a 5+ invulnerable save. And the Nephilim Jet Fighter, again, the same, 5+ invulnerable save. Now, we don't get a Ravenwing Talon Master. So, yeah, there you go. So, 3 units out of the old sheets that we no longer have, which I think is a shame. I mean, I was a little bit annoyed when they took away the option to have Samil in his land speeder. Because I think his bike's called Corvex and the land speeder was called Sable Claw. And it was a really big damage dealer. So it was a bit disappointing to see that go. Like I say, I'm disappointed that they're taking a lot of the fluff that made the Dark Angels, you know, things like Mortis pattern dreadnoughts have gone. No longer able to field Samil in either or his jet bike or land speeder, which is a shame. And then if you like to do crusade stuff, then obviously we've got that here. Hunt the Fallen, For the Lion, Inner Circle Advancement, Agendas, Requisitions, Battle Traits, Crusade Relics, Crusade Badges, and then there's some points values there at the back, some basic points values there at the back. But as I say, I haven't really looked at stuff in the past, haven't really looked at points values, because again, I haven't played any games, regrettably, but hopefully that'll change soon. Anyway, I hope you liked that quick flick through of the Codex. Some things are gone, it's disappointing, you know. I like Firstborn Marines, and I like, you know, having things like bike squads, etc. I do appreciate that a business can't keep producing everything, but I think Games Workshop misses a trick by removing stuff and then only very occasionally going, oh, we're going to have it available for pre-order for a week. You know, why not do like many other modelling companies do, and that is you've got this back catalogue and just every few years reintroduce it to the range, you know, so that it spends maybe a year or two in the range and then disappears again. You know, still have your core range that you do all the time, but with your old stuff, if people want it, why not just do that? I'd love you Games Workshop to do that with your scenery, if possible. You know, so your old style building kits that I used to love, the Cities of Death stuff that I used to love, bring it back. But don't just bring it back for a, you know, fear of missing out 1 week and that's it. Just literally bring it back and say it's going to be reintroduced to the range for the year 2025, so that people do have a chance to say, oh, I'm going to save some pennies and get that. You know, it would be nice. Anyway, I digress. Hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more.